Hello, everyone. Welcome to Center Court. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. I'm here with a couple of great folks from Georgia Tech, the Scheller College of Business, the MBA program. We have Dave Dieters, the Executive Director of MBA Career Services. You'll know Dave immediately. You'll know his persona because he spent 35 years in the corporate world as a consultant before going to Georgia Tech and helping students find their passion and their careers. And we have a recent graduate from the MBA program at Georgia Tech, Osama Makawi, who is a global strategic sourcing manager at Apple, one of my favorite companies. You may not know this, but I collaborated with John Sculley, the former CEO of Apple, many years ago on his book and got to know Apple really well. Interviewed plenty of people in the company back then, including many who founded the company. So welcome to both of you. Now, Dave, you spent a lot of time in your previous career recruiting MBA students. And I wonder, what did you learn about them that you liked? And what did you learn that you disliked?
Oh, that is a terrific question. I think as a consultant, you learn to find things about people to like, because I think we all, of course, except for you, John, we all have things that are easy to like or easy to dislike. But I think the thing that I was looking for to serve our clients were people that could collaborate, that could work together. Collaboration is a great sounding word, but it means so much more than just easy to get along with. It means that you can work through disagreements and bring different perspectives and diverse backgrounds together to work towards a common goal. And I think it's a learned art to be able to do that. And those were the things that I was looking for. And those are the qualities that I liked the most, were people that demonstrated not just the ability to do that, but that enjoyed doing that. And that's one of the many things that really attracted me to the Scheller College of Business.
And what about your dislike? What did you find as recruiting MBAs that kind of turned you off a little bit?
I think we steered clear, John, of the programs where the students were hyper competitive. And there are some terrific programs, and you know who they are, where the emphasis is on competition among the students for placement in the class. And though that tended to drive attributes that I wouldn't say I didn't like, but I didn't think made for a successful consultant. There are other fields that might be a better fit for students with those kinds of attributes. So we steered clear of the things that really emphasized ego and getting ahead and competing with your teammates. Again, we were much more drawn to those students that really enjoyed being part of a team and really enjoyed helping others.
That's great. Now, tell me, what are the attributes that align your beliefs in recruiting MBA students with the MBA students being produced at the Scheller College of Business?
Another really good question. And, Osama, you check me here if anything flies in your face. But I think I think the first thing is of alignment is an approach to problem solving. Okay, I think one of the things that makes for, I think, a good professional, John, not just a good consultant, is the ability to take a complex problem and break it down into simpler things and work through those things and navigate the obstacles. And to do that, and to do that well, I think it takes a person that is not afraid to look around for people with different perspectives and different talents and to ask for help, because that's how the best solution gets delivered. And I think that is in very, very close alignment with what Scheller is all about. And Osama, I'm glad you're shaking your head, you're nodding your head, not shaking your head. But I think that's a key thing. I think another thing is we used to, in the consulting world, we always looked for client leaders that wanted to surround themselves or hire people that were smarter than they are. Meaning if I built a team of people just like me, we wouldn't be a very effective team. Okay. And I want someone that doesn't just respect, but that truly values and goes out and finds people with a different perspective or a different background. Because again, it only makes for a better solution. So those are some of the things that I believe are fundamental to what Scheller's all about and the community that we've built. I think those are elements that really reflect a successful professional in the real world right now.
Now, Osama, does all that resonate with you? Is that what you found in the MBA program?
Absolutely. And I would 100%, 110% agree with what Dave just said. It's actually what attracted me to Scheller is the fact that it is not your traditional MBA program. It's definitely not your traditional MBA cohort. And that's everything that I was looking for in a program. Actually, it's the only program that I applied to, as a fun fact.
Wow.
But yeah, just I was sold immediately.
I did not know that. Why was I so nice to you in the admissions interview? I didn't know. It's good that you didn't tell me that, Osama.
Yeah, I put all my eggs in one basket.
So give us a little bit on yourself and tell us what led you to pursue an MBA in the first place.
Absolutely. So prior to my MBA, I actually graduated with a chemical engineering degree from a very famous top school in Texas, Texas A&M, definitely the best school there. And then did about 5 years as a facilities engineer in oil and gas. Throughout my experience, I've quickly found out that I was looking for something more, which is usually how it ends up being, looking for an MBA program. I wanted to pivot away from a technical role to go more into a more strategic or business role. And believe it or not, working in oil and gas made me want to move into sustainable business and strive for a more sustainability focused career, which kind of led to Scheller. Scheller, if people are not familiar, does have the Racy Anderson Sustainability Business Center embedded in the same building. They do participate in the curriculum as well. So that was a very big selling point for me for the program.
So you arrive on campus. What do you find out immediately about the program and yourself?
Honestly, I know it might sound cliche, but it was very welcoming. Like I think MBAs have a trope or a stereotype that they tend to be, like, as they mentioned, hyper competitive. Very much, nothing wrong with that, but the environment I was looking for was much more like welcoming. And that's what I found at Scheller. Everybody was excited to see a new face, someone that was looking to step out of their comfort zone. And what I learned from myself is that, I can get along with people that are not just engineers, because that's what's impressive with Scheller. They have people from all kinds of backgrounds. I think some of my best friends that I met over there come from the Peace Corps, usually circles that I don't interact with from my undergrad. So that was the first thing that stood out.
Yeah, and that's a good point to reemphasize here, because you think, okay, Georgia Institute of Technology, what you're going to find are classes just filled with engineers and nobody else. But David, you're just anxious to recruit non-traditionals, even poets like me, as well as the quants like Osama, right?
Absolutely, there was a lot.
And there's a lot to learn from the diversity that's brought to the classroom, from different work backgrounds, different geographies, different genders, and different racial makeup.
And that's a big deal. So, we very intentionally smashed together small groups of students, from the first year class into teams of 4 or 5 people, and they navigate the core curriculum their first semester together, and they actually execute the coursework as a team. And we very purposefully will put a school teacher with an engineer, with maybe someone from nonprofit, and maybe someone from finance, and ironically, each of whom has some form of imposter syndrome, because they don't have the experiences of everybody else in the classroom. And again, that is so core to what we're all about, is that if you can pull together all these different perspectives, you come up with such a better solution, and it's also a more enjoyable, robust experience. I mean,
Okay.
I think I'd build on that, because the cohort is a good example. My cohort, engineering background, I had a marketing professional, a entrepreneur, and an active military veteran. So it was definitely a diverse set of background that made sure that we all stepped out of that comfort zone and learned from each other in that first year, which is that pivotal, or first semester, which is the pivotal semester to help that transition from the professional world to back to the MBA environment.
Okay, let's have some fun. We're going to play a game, okay? And I'm going to ask both of you for adjectives that best describe the MBA program, the culture, the work ethic, the sense of community at the school. And what we want to do is, Osama, you're going to give one word, and then David, you're going to give one word, and then we're going to bounce back to Osama, okay? Ready? Osama, you go first.
Electrifying.
Electrifying, I like that. That's a great word. David?
Innovative.
Innovative. Okay, back to Osama.
Tenacious.
Tenacious, all right. David?
Welcoming.
Welcoming, okay, which we heard already, which is great because it really describes what the experiences was like. Osama?
Diverse.
Diverse, okay. David?
Collaborative.
Now we're down to our last four. Osama?
Man, I'm blanking now on my adjectives. I would say
You could say good-looking staff.
There you go.
Come on.
I don't want to lie, Dave. I would say, in addition to good looking, I think we said innovative, but I think creative is a different kind of adjective. Creative.
Oh
Yes.
man, you stole my adjective.
Uh-oh. You stepped on David.
I would say successful.
Good. Last two. Osama?
I would say honest, honesty is a big one.
Social.
That's great. Social. Those are 10 great adjectives that would describe any program, and especially your program. That's fantastic. Osama, tell us a little bit more about the learning experience. How was it similar or dissimilar to your undergraduate experience at Texas A&M?
That's a great question. I think the initial semester, and I think a lot of programs are in this way, where it's the foundational semester, is very much in the classroom. So a very, I would say, quote unquote, traditional approach, where Scheller started really shining in how different it is and how it approaches the educational part of the MBA is beyond that first semester, where they introduced the practicums and the casework that adds to the MBA curriculum. I think one of the best experiences, or the best things that Scheller does, is the concentrations. So you do have the multiple, finance concentration, operations concentrations that help guide how you select your classes during your MBA. I really appreciated that you were not forced to choose one. Because everybody knows when you're going back to your MBA, you don't necessarily know what you want to do. And that's why Dave and his team come in to kind of manage that and help us go through that self-exploration journey. And also that classroom environment helps inform your career interests. So those practicums and those concentrations help you kind of narrow that chaotic brain that sometimes doesn't know what it wants. And I really appreciated the opportunity to focus on supply chain and ops, which I do work in right now, but also complemented it with things that I don't normally, venture in, like big data analytics, sustainability. That aspect of it, I was able to explore as well through Scheller's diverse class offering.
And outside of class, what kind of things were you involved in, Osama?
Oh, I'll say the things I can say. No. No, all jokes aside, I think case competitions was one of the most enriching experiences I've been through in the MBA. It's actually one of the first things I did in my first semester was a sponsored case competition by one of the consulting firms in Atlanta, and that was awesome. We went, we progressed to the national competition, got to fly out to California. It was a wonderful experience there. Beyond that, there's a lot of extracurricular clubs and student-run organizations as well at Scheller. I'll plug my favorite, no bias there, is Net Impact, which is the sustainability club or community at Georgia Tech. There is a Georgia Tech one, and there's a Scheller arm as well, specific for MBAs. They actually sponsor every year a trip to the national conference where you can go visit and see what the different businesses are doing in sustainability. So that was great. And last but not least is giving back to the community. Scheller has a great volunteering and community work arm from the student-run organizations. And that was something that I really enjoyed participating in as well.
Terrific. Now, David, your job is to get people on track so that when they graduate, waiting for them is a job that they want. How do you do that at Scheller?
Well, it actually starts before getting them on track. It's helping them identify the track they want to get on. Right. I really, not everyone that comes thundering in our door has that perfect, clear idea of what they want to do or where they want to go. But in terms of how we do it, John, individual coaching is foundational to what we do here in the Jones MBA Career Center at Scheller and how we do it. We're blessed with a very rich advisor to student ratio. And so there's no limit whatsoever to the amount or number of hours of individual coaching our students decide to take advantage of. And we certainly have proven process that backs that up. We are already communicating with and serving the incoming class for the class of 2024. They have, they're still months away from arriving, in the fall, but we're already reaching out with informational videos on various career paths, alumni conversations that we've recorded, workshops on how to get their resumes and basic cover letters up to speed, just so we can really hit the ground running in the fall. And when they get here, we'll have a week. We have a 2-week orientation period. One of those 2 weeks is dedicated to career preparation. We will refine those documents. We'll refine resumes, but we will really start the process of getting to know the students and help them refine their exploration and even begin to identify some targets. We'll have lots of sessions on how to develop the right answers to questions, interview stories, and we start the case prep. And we'll bring in, we'll have networking events during that first week, and we'll have lots of alumni sessions to give our students a chance to meet folks. Then on Fridays for the rest of the semester, we will bring in lots of specialized content. Our team, again, we're very blessed. We have over 100 years of corporate experience on our team, and I'm only half of that. But we, but we also, have over 50 years of career coaching. So we've got a lot of talent on the team, but we bring in people to really go deep on case interviewing, on product management interviewing, on how tech firms work, on communication techniques, how to project presence. And we also have a session dedicated to nothing but career fair preparation. We all know that, September is National Career Fair season for a lot of the different affinity career fairs. And we want to help our students get ready for that. So that we do that throughout the fall. And I think, you mash all that together. And again, the icing on the cake is the individual relationships we're able to build with our students and the coaching. The only other thing I'd say is that we're organized a little bit differently than a lot of business schools. You know this. I mean, most business schools have a team dedicated to working with students and a team dedicated to employer outreach. And we don't do it that way. I feel like I can be a better representative to our students that we serve of what's going on in the corporate world if I spend a big chunk of my time out in the corporate world.
Right.
Conversely, I think I can better represent the students we serve to our employers if I spend a whole lot of time with our students. So our team does both. And we spend a great deal of time talking about what's going on in each student's search, so that a few years ago, if Osama were perflummoxed with something and his assigned coach weren't available, or if he wanted to speak to someone that was deep in consulting or someone that was deep in the way a technology company works, they're already up to speed with what's going on with Osama. And he can sit down, with another member of our team and get quality personalized counsel because we spend so much time talking about them. So I think that really is how we approach working with the students that we serve.
So you effectively have a careers curriculum in a way.
I think that's fair. Osama, would you use the word curriculum, or would you?
I would use it loosely. It's a roadmap, because it's definitely not like, one size fits all when it comes to the Career Center at Scheller, right? I think that's the number one thing I would say, is it's extremely they're extremely flexible to adjust to the needs of each student, and I think that was why it's the best in the country. Because you're not forced to stick to one advisor. You're not forced to stick to one track. If you want to change what you're looking for, you can, as long as you maintain that communication with your coaches. Anything is possible. And that team is there dedicated to help you succeed.
John, if I may, I one time heard a football coach say that this coach was the offensive coordinator, and that's the person whose job it is to score points.
Mm-hmm.
And this offensive coordinator said that his job was to get first downs. He didn't worry about the scoreboard. He didn't worry about any other statistics. It's just get first downs. If his team did that, everything takes care of itself. And better than anybody, we in career services have a scoreboard that is, that tracks stats that are very important to the students that follow your good publication. And, it's what percentage of people have employed at various points, what kind of salary. Those stats are really important. We focus on every individual story. And if we do our job with, Osama and all of his classmates, those stats take care of themselves. So each individual student story is our first down in that analogy. And that really is how we approach things.
So Osama, how did Scheller help you gain your first 10 yards in that first down?
I think I'd credit it to my career advisor, Kevin Stacey's patience. That's because I definitely was one of those individuals that came in not knowing what they wanted. I came from a very, very specific background, 5 years in the same industry, in the same company. So I had this, approach of like casting a wide net and just kind of like reeling in whatever came in. And how Scheller helped me kind of narrow it down is really providing as much time as needed from my side to kind of talk through all those options, whether it was with my coach, with my professors, and narrow down where I fit in best. And I think I eventually, believe it or not, as an engineer, I'm good at problem solving. And I realized that that doesn't necessarily have to be in a technical environment. That doesn't necessarily have to be, behind a drawing or building things as an engineer, but you can apply it correctly anywhere. And thanks to the great professors that we have at Scheller, as well as the Career Center, narrowed it down to supply chain and ops and focused my career search there.
Now, did you do your internship at Apple?
No, I actually interned at Delta Airlines in Atlanta in supply chain. Right.
Wow.
And had a great time there, was going to join full time. However, class of 2020, COVID happened and that changed everybody's plans a little bit. So had to pivot and landed at Apple during the summer of August 2020.
Your flight got rerouted.
Yeah, a little bit. And you trust me, like I love Delta. I would recommend Delta in a heartbeat to anybody to work there. And I
Great
think
company.
it's a great company, great culture. But things change.
So how did the school help you in your job search? Because you're right, you graduated at a rather difficult time.
Mhm.
Companies in the sort of transportation or hospitality industries were badly impacted by
Yeah,
COVID. How
yeah.
how how did the school help you get your job at Apple?
So I would actually say, which is pretty funny because I always thought it was like sorry, Dave, if I say this, the network is a cliche. I thought like coming into MBA, everybody talks about the network, the network, the network. And eventually the network is what got me Apple. So, I had the full-time offer from Delta. I graduated in May of 2020. And in May of 2020, that offer went away. And it didn't it just got delayed, right? But I, for personal reasons, needed to have a job sooner rather than later. So through both the career centers, so my coach, Kevin, and one of my classmates, Eric E, he had already signed with a great Atlanta-based company, Home Depot, but Apple had reached out to him. But he was like, "Oh, I have a great colleague and classmate that's also an operations background. You should look at him as well." And it was that simple. And from there, I just went through the interview process. Always touched base with Kevin. Even after I graduated, Kevin was always available to talk about, practicing interviews, talk about my resume, and went through, I think Apple was a very extensive interview process. It was about 2.5 months of interviews. And eventually by August of 2020, got an offer from Apple and started shortly after.
Dave, you got to love that story. I do.
I do, and it's I think Osama's being very kind, but I think a lot of the credit goes to Osama and his resilience. I'm glad that we could support him, but that was a tough time for an MBA graduate.
Totally. Dave, what do you think employers most appreciate about students from your school?
Well, I think I can bring the perspective. I can tell you what I appreciated as employer. I mean, we
Yeah.
hired lots of Scheller MBAs, and I think probably the two most obvious things, I'll give you two obvious things and a subtle one. The two most obvious things were the ability we've talked about to collaborate, the ability to seek out opinions other than their own and enjoy that process and work together to overcome obstacles and solve a problem. I think that's, clearly number one. I think, but I think then there's the ability to communicate. We were a consulting firm. When we're serving our clients, we have no real authority. The only authority we have, John, is the power of our idea and our ability to convince the client that that's a good idea.
Right.
Scheller grads know how to do that. And I think our employers really value not just the ability to collaborate, but that ability to communicate and to problem solve. And then, I think the more subtle thing is, the real world, wants to hire people that like people. The real world wants to hire people that want to engage, that want to make a difference, that want to leave things a little bit better than they found them. I think that's what you get with a Scheller grad.
Hallelujah. Osama, what would you say are the three hallmarks of your experience at Scheller? And, the things that you remember most or have had the greatest impact on your career so far?
That's going to be, there's so many, so I'll try to keep it to three. I think what the number one, I think I already alluded to it, was that opportunity to compete in case competitions, on a national level. That's something I've never done before. So I think I definitely appreciate that opportunity to get out of my comfort zone.
And let me say, as a quant with a background in engineering, I totally get that. That had to be an invaluable experience to you.
No, it was great because it helped me discover a side of me that I didn't know. Like I later through the MBA do enjoy public speaking and presenting and all that kind of activity. So I really enjoyed that. The second one that was a real hallmark was we do have an international practicum, which I know is a staple in most MBA programs, but I think Scheller's practicum, international practicum, is a little different. I didn't get to travel because of COVID. I still think it's a hallmark because of how we approach those projects. We don't just look for a destination of like, what's a cool place to go? It's more so like, to Dave's point, where can you make an impact? So we were partnered up with a startup in Sweden that was supporting, sustainable reporting, how to enable companies to achieve their sustainability goals. That very specific goal, I would be hard pressed to find another school that can give you that kind of opportunity to engage with company leaders at that level to help them succeed in their goal. So that's number two. And the third one, last but not least, honestly, it's the people. Like, I think I gained an entire family, students and faculty and staff combined, because I think we did not really mention that this program is designed to be a small cohort, right? I think our class was 80 people or something like that, 2020. And you get to know everybody truly to their core. I gained some valuable friends that I can really rely on for the rest of my life. And I'm proud to say that if anything, leaving Scheller during COVID has highlighted the strong foundation that I left with when coming into this program in 2018. So I think that kind of summarizes it all.
That's great. David, last words. What's your advice to someone who's, considering an MBA program, wanting to decide where to go? How do they align their interests or passions or values with the right program?
This answer may surprise you a little bit, John, given that, we in the Career Services Office are very focused on outcomes. I think my advice, you've got an unbelievably amazing opportunity if you're, thinking about taking 2 years and you're going to come engage. And the outcome's important. You don't want to come spend 2 years and not have the outcome you want. Don't let me diminish that, but focus on the experience. What a terrific chance for you to jump into a world and experience growth on all kind of different fronts, on all kind of different levels. And I think it's important to focus not just on that experience, but with the people with whom you'll be. These people will be your classmates, your business school classmates for the rest of your career. And you just heard Osama talk about friends that he can count on. And I think you want to pick a place that's attracting people that you want to be around, that you respect, that you value, and that you want to go through this amazing experience with.
There aren't many places where you can find a friend who just turned down a job at Apple who wants to turn it over to you.
Exactly.
Sure.
If I may add to Dave real quick, I would also say, don't settle. Like, when you go for an MBA, you're definitely taking a risk. Everybody recognizes that. So if you want to make sure that you do not settle in your next choice, go to an environment, which I believe is at Scheller, that enables you to make the right choice, to step out of your comfort zone and not just settle to what you're used to.
Terrific advice. Osama and David, what a pleasure to be with you today. Thank you so much for all your experiences that you've shared with our audience. Really appreciate it. And for all of you out there, this is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. You've been watching our Center Court presentation on the Scheller College of Business at Georgia Tech. Think about that. Your friend gets a job offer from Apple. He goes to another company, but he turns to you and say, hey, you might be interested in this. And I tell the company about you. That blows my mind. Hey,
I could give you a dozen of those examples. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you for having us.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day. Good seeing you, Osama.
Yep. Same here, Dave.